Ever since crops have been grown, growers have moved mountains to try to improve two areas, yield and quality. Welcome to the Redox Grows Technical Podcast. I'm Jim Morris with Redox Bionutrients. Our owner, founder, and CEO, Darin recently provided comments to our agronomist here in Burley. And there are three areas Darin will be covering in this next amount of time. And they're all critical to those answers of yield and quality. Plant charge balance, the single most important thing you can do for your plants. Redox Active Molecules and how they help plant charge balance. And finally, RDX-N, our latest breakthrough technology, more than a decade in the making.
Chemistry is electricity. The plant cell and the organelles in the cell are stability. Where does that stability come from? It comes from cation-anion balance. Okay? Within that cell, what do I have to have? I have to have flow. So within that cell, I have current flow. My cell membrane is stabilized by ion balance. I have calcium, I have potassium, I have organic material, organic acids, cellulose, etc. And those have to be chemically balanced, positive and negative. But within that, I have this current running around the plant of electron flow. If my system isn't stable, what happens to the electron flow? If the cell wall isn't stable, then the movement of electrons and other things through that cell wall cannot occur. And the cell wall is stabilized by cation and anion balance. Two things can occur at the same time. Flow and stability. It's like a battery. I have the housing for the battery. What's that? That's the stability. What's inside the battery? Electron flow. Electron flow. Okay? The stability comes from the container itself. The plant, we break it down more importantly to the cells, and the current is the energy. Electricity is energy, and electron flow is energy. But the plant has to be stable to contain that energy and point it in the right direction. That is where we get ion stability. This is only relevant as you can explain charge balance and RAM molecules. When I came up with OxyCom, one of the quests, and still is a quest in science, is what is the master molecule that sets everything off? A lot of people thought it was MAP kinase. Okay, there's hormones are some of the things that set these plant reactions off. Okay? I think it is photosynthesis itself. And the ability of the plant to balance the photosynthetic reaction, the molecules that can do that, or the way you can control that, is what really sets yourself apart. Guess what RDX-N does? It affects electron flow, therefore it is affecting photosynthesis itself. And it is affecting cation-anion balance in the plant. That is revolutionary. You've never heard that before today. It's constant. I'm producing positive and negative charge all the time. And especially now in today's world where we have light pollution, that plant's really never off. Here's what we do know about RDX-N and about Redox Active Molecules. Anytime you have excess or depletion of those molecules, a Redox Active Molecule provides the output. As I split the water molecule and get to oxygen, I'm left with two hydrogen and electrons. That is life itself is this equation. Life could not exist if that equation wasn't true. It comes from splitting the water molecule, and when I split the water molecule, energy is released in the form of electrons, and that creates heat. That is the first thing that the plant does, is create energy through water and sunlight. Why do we not talk about plant charge balance when the very first thing that the plant does is create charge? And why, if all fertilizers are charged and the very first thing that a plant does is create charge, why do we not think about it? Why do we not deal with it? It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Well, the reason we didn't is because, unfortunately, we discovered backwards. Because of bombs and excess nitrogen, we could grow plants in a way that they'd never grown before. And so we ran with that. Good for us. We fed the world. We produce too much now, but we produce too much at a cost. pollution, crop health, human health, that has all been at a cost. Now that we know about redox active molecules and how to manipulate them, we certainly do, and now that we know about these further in-depth studies about all of the molecules and genetic sequencing so we can follow this, we know that this is first. And it's the most important. We never said that before. We thought nitrogen was the most important thing. No. No. It is charge followed by charge balance. First of all, I have to create the charge, and I get my gradient out of this. I get my electron gradient out of this, and that electron moves down the electron chain from photosystem 2 to photosystem 1, and then it goes to the thicolloids and to all the ribosomes and all the things in the plant cell. And eventually, then it gets to CO2 plus NH2 yields an amino acid. Overall, what are we talking about? Plant charge balance. Have you ever plugged a extension cord into the outlet and run more power than the extension cord was rated for? What does it do? That's the same thing that happens in a leaf. It doesn't get crispy hot, but it gets too hot to run efficiently, so what does it do? It shuts down. So when a plant has stress, it turns on genes to deal with those stress. What do those genes usually do? They start shutting down systems. They start shutting down systems because the plant can't deal with 100% growth. When I turn those systems off, what happens? The plant keeps moving. Why? Because the redox active molecules have absorbed or have stimulated the plant to produce organic material that can absorb that excess energy. As I have my free floating electrons, okay, and I have too many of them, what has to happen? Well, the plant created a system for that, okay? And it's kind of like the best way I can think about it is fat storage in your body, okay? Humans evolved with fat storage. Why? They didn't get to eat that much, so when they ate, they could store up enough fat for the lean times when they didn't have enough, and it was a carryover, okay? Plants evolved the same thing, and they're called redox active molecules. Okay? Because why? Because when I have excess, when it's 100 degrees and I'm producing way too many, that redox active molecule can absorb it. It's built to absorb it, okay? And then when it's cloudy and smoky or other things, and I need to let off an electron, it can do that as well. That is the incredible power of redox active molecules. Okay? Here's something fascinating for you. These molecules are so powerful that they are studying how to make organic batteries out of redox active molecules. And it's a real thing. They're that capable of conducting electricity. You have no idea the power of these molecules. I cannot describe it to you adequately enough. That is why ounces per acre are so effective, because these molecules are that powerful. And in the case of what we have put together, we are putting together A, the actual application of redox active molecules, and B, the stimulation of production within the plant of redox active molecules. Wow. Wow. Okay? That is what a redox active molecule does. Now that hopefully I've made the case in your mind for electricity and stability versus availability, we have to understand that the system is inefficient at best, and there's going to be times of excess. What happens when there's times of excess? The plant slows down because it can't deal with it. And there's going to be times of depletion. What happens in depletion? The plant slows down because there's not enough energy. The more I can balance that out, the better my plant runs. It's that simple. This is an incredibly energy-intensive process. We talk about photosynthesis being inefficient. This is worse. Because first of all, I've created this vegetatively happy plant to store it all, and then I have to take all of this energy to convert it. All of this hard-fought energy from splitting the water molecule, and the sunlight has to be correct, and I have to balance out my electrons. Wow. And when we over-apply nitrogen and have nitrate nitrogen as storage, we have created a chain of disastrous events within the plant. It is the imbalance of either A, ion charge, or B, electron flow that shuts the plant down first. And so then what do? We apply more fertilizer. We apply more charge to a plant that's already out of balance and overcharged. It's so freaking simple. The problem is that the industry is built around what? Great big trucks. Someday, batteries will be run by Redox Active Molecules. Someday. Not by iron batteries, but by Redox Active Molecules. That's how powerful they are. I cannot emphasize to you enough, and so it doesn't take a lot. We're interested in balance and flow. Balance and flow. Ion balance, current flow. The best example is copper. The copper itself is stable. That's my ion balance. The current runs through the copper wire to its destination and does whatever it does. It turns on the lights, okay? That's the flow. That's energy flow. You cannot predict what the crops you're consulting on need tomorrow. So being able to adapt to changing environments, it rains one day, it's 100 degrees the next. Your fertilizer program can't predict that. Your NPK cannot predict that. But your ability to set up the plan and make it adaptive, oh, now we're talking, okay? So let's say that this week, my plant doesn't need Redox Active Molecules. What will the plant do? It will take what we apply and make it into whatever it needs. It will catabolize it, break that down into components, and then anabolize it, rebuild it into something different. 40 to 60% of all organic molecules in a plant have one time either been catabolized or anabolized at one point in time. The plant is constantly recycling itself. It is constantly redoing itself to adapt to its environment. We think we just take fertilizer on, the plant grows, and man, the better, more balanced our fertilizer is, the better we're doing in soil health, and I'm going to have 75% calcium and 15% magnesium and 7.5% potassium and 2.5% sodium, and that's going to fix all my problems. Whoever thought that balancing the soil with base saturation is the end-all be-all of soil fertility and plant health? Holy cow. They didn't study plant physiology with me. That's where we are headed then as a company, is to focus around this technology so that the complementary products that are necessary are focused on this technology getting better and better. So as we understand genetic sequencing and what genes we need to produce, and as we understand better soils and all those things, everything is built around, if I can help plant charge balance by adding other things to the program, holy cow. The RAM molecule is more important than the mineral because I have to balance the plant first before I can take up the mineral. It will not take the mineral up if the plant isn't balanced. It won't do it. It can't. You can't push an electrical current against itself. You can't take two magnets, positive charge, and get them to hook together. You cannot do it. You can try all day long, it ain't gonna work. It's 3 talking points. Number 1, the plant creates charge. Number 2, your fertilizer contains charge. Number 3, the way you make it more efficient is to focus right there. Life itself comes from that right there. Because plants, you don't do this, but plants create amino acids, and that's your energy source. Amino acids, you can't make your own amino acids, you have to eat them, okay? That's your energy source. If it wasn't for plants and that reaction, you wouldn't be able to live. Life itself runs off of that reaction, and that reaction starts with creating charge. It's backwards. Photosystem 2 to photosystem 1. I don't know why they put them backwards, but they did, and that's the way it works, okay? That all happens within the cell, and that comes from these electrons bumping down the stream. It's called an electron chain. You can look it up. It's called an electron chain, and that releases energy. And I eventually get to CO2 plus NH2 yields an amino acid. I eventually get there out of the electron chain that gets me there. Because I have electrical stability, my container, versus electrical current, my flow. You have to have both. You have to have both. There's electricity everywhere, but it is delivered through an electrical wire because that wire is stable. The plant cell wall is stable so that it can hold those electrical currents in check and get them to focus on what they're supposed to do. And then they're creating the current. That's it. I think it's fair to say to each one of you that in the biostimulant world, John and I have probably been there and done that. We've seen products come and go. We've seen companies come and go. We've seen ideas come and go. There's not much we haven't seen. I haven't seen an offering like RDX-N in my professional lifetime. I never thought in my professional lifetime I would be able to hire 2 full-time PhDs that are brilliant, that would work here in this office. And they are brilliant. In their discipline to science, you don't get to cut corners with Dr. Giff or Dr. Doss. You don't get to make assumptions with Dr. Giff or Dr. Doss. You come to the conclusion that the data leads you to. And the research that we've focused, the efforts that we've focused internally and externally on coming to conclusions about RDX-N, I'm trying to contain my excitement. Because first of all, this product's been around for 12 plus years now. The idea behind the product has been around for 12 plus years. The first several years when results came back, I said, no, that's not possible. It's not possible. That no product works like that, okay? And then when Dr. Giff started laying out the results, and then we started doing it on multiple crops, what got me excited was this wasn't a crop-specific material. It was a plant physiology metabolic specific material. You can take it from somebody who's been there and done that, from John and I. An opportunity to represent scientifically and otherwise a material that is patented, that is a market disruptor. It comes into a market and does something that no other product can do, and does it consistently, and does it across, so far, all tested crops at field scale, and those aren't the same species. There are multiple species of crops. We have a molecule or molecules in our extraction process of the botanical extracts that is more powerful than anything I've ever seen, because we're now down to ounces per acre. I cannot do anything halfway. I can't. I can't pretend like I'm the smartest guy in the room, because I'm not. But I also have been doing this long enough to appreciate when opportunities come along. And what I'm asking you guys to accept is, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to set yourself apart as an agricultural professional. It's an opportunity to do the right thing for an industry that is crying for something like this. And it allows you to A, set a foundation for our technology, and then B, wrap everything else around it. Because I spent millions of dollars everywhere. Geography, crop, setting, application, done that work. I'm not making this up to fit a narrative. I'm not making this up to fit RDX-N. RDX-N fits the science. That's why I said it's such a great opportunity. Think about the amount of products out there where somebody came up with an idea and they have to try to manipulate the science around that idea, or they have to try to change the way everything's done around that idea. We don't. We're simply asking people to do one thing. What? Reduce your nitrogen. That's it. Why are we asking them to reduce their nitrogen? Because number one, it is the nitrogen that's the problem, the most damaging. And number two, we have a material that makes up for the difference. It's not about more nitrogen in the system. It's about pushing it through the system. There's a block there, and it gets stored as nitrate nitrogen, and until that block is taken away, nitrogen is inefficient. I don't care what the source is. I don't care if it's manure. I don't care if it's compost. I don't care if it's amino acids. It is inefficient until that plant can move the cycle of nitrogen metabolism. Balance out and put on nutrients that are deficient or what have you, and always combine those nutrients with fulvic acid, humic acid, all the things that we know, everything else. All we're adding is a powerful molecules, or our powerful molecules, to push the most egregious pollutant there is, which is nitrate nitrogen, both to the earth, both to the environment and to human health. We are pushing that. That's the only addition we're making. My expectation is to perform because this is an opportunity of a lifetime.
One of the things that Darin has said over the years that's really struck me is we now know better, so we must do better. Fortunately, we have the technology to help with efficiency, yield, and quality. To find out more information, you can go to redoxgrows.com. Thanks for joining us.